Hello everybody, my name is Xuul and welcome to the Oblivion Mod Showcase. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about Mart's Monster Mod. Now, Mart's Monster Mod, or MMM, is a really cool and really large kind of overhaul mod for Oblivion. We're going to be covering installation at the end of this video, and you may want to stick around for that because, well, I couldn't find a process on the internet when I was looking up a tutorial to make sure that I was doing everything kind of up to par that still had all the files available. So as far as I can tell, this mod's pretty difficult to install. As far as what this mod actually is, it's a really prolific mod, but I will cover it anyway. It adds nearly 90 new creature and NPC types to the game. So these are new monsters, creatures, and you'll see a bunch of screenshots and clips of them as we go on. Everything from plague rats to big kind of Balrog style dragons and crazy ice yetis. Not only does it add a bunch of new different types of creatures though, it varies the different creatures that exist in the world. So no longer are you going to run into 100 clones of that same gnoll. They're going to have different heights, different sizes, different statistics. Each of them is just going to be a little bit different and it's going to make them unique. Another thing that's added by this mod that's really cool is the factions system. No longer are you the center of the universe with wolves and bandits teaming up to fight you. Conversely, this also means that not all mobs are just going to instantly attack you or everything around them. For example, a minotaur wandering around the world doesn't necessarily want to slaughter everything it sees. Maybe it doesn't care about that deer or that boar that it's walking by. And that's another really cool thing about the faction system. It's really big and it's really advanced, and it adds a lot to the game. It also changes the scaling, so you will fight monsters that are different difficulties than you. Not everything's going to be the exact same level. And the creatures are also going to continue scaling past level 40 or 50 or whatever it stops at in the game. I believe it's 40. There's an optional crafting module. There's actually a lot of optional modules, but we'll cover that in the installation. Different combat AI, different guard patrols, undead resurrections, changing to the diversity of even just some of the default races, which makes things a little bit different. It'll add female guards to some of the patrols, stuff like that. Mart's mod is impressive. And I could continue talking all day. You've probably seen a lot of the different types of monsters in the screenshots and clips that I've put together here. I tried to go around and collect as much as I could, and I scoured the web looking for different screenshots just to give you guys a taste, because it would take me forever to find all 90 creatures in the game and show you, and besides, there's kind of a nice little bit of a surprise when you see that. But the installation of this mod is actually a rather difficult process, especially since one of the main sites where this mod was hosted doesn't exist anymore. But don't worry, I've been working on this over the past few days, and I think I have found a really good solution. So, let's move to the installation. Okay, installation guide. So before we begin, if you would like to see kind of a quick installation guide, this is aimed more at advanced users, you can check out the Xuul shortcut. These are quick installation guides we do on the channel. They're generally no longer than 2 minutes long, and they are aimed at advanced users, people who are kind of comfortable with installing mods. They go over things extremely quickly, and you have to pause the video several times to follow the steps. But they're a good refresher for those of you who don't really need me to explain basic computing terms and don't want to sit here and listen to me over the course of, say, 5 or so minutes. However, if you'd like to see a detailed installation, if you're not exactly comfortable with it, that's perfectly fine, because honestly, this is a bit complicated. So let's get started with that installation process now by downloading all the files we'll need. So I had a bit of trouble finding a complete version of Mart's Monster Mod. And I had a lot of trouble finding it because the website that hosted the BSA, which was like the textures and the models and all that kind of stuff, doesn't exist anymore. And the mirrors were on Mega Upload, which also doesn't exist anymore, making this mod actually a little bit rare to get a complete version of, at least legitimately with the correct uploading rights. However, I have found a version. It is not the perfectly ideal version, but it is the most up-to-date, so it should be fine. And that's version 3.8. You can find it on the TES Alliance website. I think you have to make an account to download mods there, but it's all free. And basically there'll be a link in the description. Go over there and then click the download button. It will give you this sort of you agree to their terms of service thing, just agree, or disagree, I guess. No pressure, but, you know, you're not going to be able to download the mod unless you agree. And then we're going to download 3 files. The first file we're going to download is the readme and version history.rar. This is something that you should have so that you can look at what the mod adds, and of course it has a bunch of troubleshooting and installation instructions. Next up, we're going to download the mmm38.rar. This is the ESPs and stuff for the mod, so just download this one. Finally, download mmm38bsa.7z. This is going to take a very long time. This is a huge file in terms of kind of downloading mods, especially for Oblivion. So give yourself some time. You can sort of see the size right here. I mean, it's not like that huge in context of a game, but it's getting kind of close to half a gig, and that's a lot for some people, so, you know, just give yourself some time. After you've downloaded all 3 of those, head over to the other link in the description, which will take you to the Mart's Monster Mod OMod installer. And here, you're going to need to go to the File section and then manually download MMM OMod Installer 161. Now you'll notice that this is only for version 37b3. This is the version that I used to recommend installing because it came with the OMod installer, and there's a little bit of work we have to do to get the new version to work with this installer, but for the most part, and at least with my current 3 hours of playtime testing with this setup, I haven't experienced any problems, as long as you follow the instructions properly and make sure you have the required files. The first thing you're going to do is extract the README and version history into a folder, open up the README, and then basically, like, read the README, you know, make sure you have all the requirements. In the case of this mod, you need to have the unofficial patches installed, and you need to have the Oblivion Mod Manager. I would not recommend using Mod Organizer, I would recommend sticking with the Oblivion Mod Manager. After that, make sure you have all these other different things. There's different files, including ones for the DLC, ones for Franz, and ones for if you're using Focom. But we're not going to worry about that. Also, I would recommend using Boss, not Loot. Use Boss because Boss works better for Oblivion because the lists are just a little bit better. Once you've kind of read through that enough, then we can get to work on building the OMod. Now the first thing we need to do is extract mmm38bsa into a folder. And the reason we're doing this is because there is a naming convention change with version 38 from version 37. And basically that naming convention change means that the OMod installer will not work properly unless we change the name of the file. So we're going to do that now. I'm just going to cut when this is finished extracting though, so you don't have to sit here and wait. Once that folder's done extracting, open it up, and inside you'll see Mart's monstermod.bsa. Click on this and either right click and select rename, or just click on it and hit F2, which is what I did, and rename it to mmm.bsa. And this is the correct naming convention for this absolutely massive file. If you take a look here, that's a big file. After that, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of get rid of, or at least change the name of this. So I'm going to change this to a .back file, just in case we screw up, then I don't have to re-download that. All you have to do to make that not a backup file is basically push F2 and backspace the .back. And then we're going to right-click on the mmm38bsa folder, the one with the mmmBSA in it, and we're going to add that to an archive. So in this case, a RAR archive. Again, this will take a few moments, so I will cut ahead to when it's done. Once that RAR file has been made, we can finally begin creating the OMod, and to do this we need to use Oblivion Mod Manager. I'm not going to recommend Nexus with this one. Please stick with OMM because this is the one that I've confirmed everything works with. So what we're going to do is first off make sure you have like the unofficial patches and all that, which I do. I have the unofficial patches. And then go ahead and click Create. And then we're going to click Add Archive. And I'm going to go to my Downloads folder, and here I'm going to select the mmm omod installer.rar. It has OMod conversion data. You would click Yes to importing that, and that'll just set up all the naming conventions and everything properly. Then we're going to add another archive, that one being the mmm38.rar. This is the one with all the plugins, so it should add a bunch of different ESPs on this page. If you click on the Data tab, though, it's going to be empty. That's why we have to finally add the mmm38bsa.rar. Click Open. This could take a while. This is the biggest file. You did see the size of that, so just give it a minute. Once it's done, you'll have your mmm.bsa in there. So you should have a bunch of plugins, you should have the OMod conversion data, you should have the BSA in the data tab. After that, you can go ahead and create your OMod. So let's just click that now. This OMod will take a few moments to compress, and then once it's done, we're going to have to cover the installation options. Alright, so that took a very long time on my end, not quite sure why. Anyways, once the mod is installed, you need to activate it. You can do that by basically selecting the mod here and then clicking activate or double clicking on it. It will take a few moments to decompress. I'll just cut to when that's done, and then I'll walk you through the different modules you'll need to have checked off and such. Once the mod finally activates, you're going to get this little menu right here. Now, it's going to ask you to select an option. You're basically going to hit none. If you are using FOCOM or anything like that, you probably know how the installation works, and I'm not going to cover that part, at least not in this video, so make sure you have none selected, then hit OK. After that, it's going to ask you if you would like the More Wilderness Life option. Now, if you make sure you read the description pretty much for all of these, because some of these aren't compatible. Now, in my case, I didn't really find a problem with installing the More Wilderness Life plugin, but if you had a problem, you can always just come back here and select the No Wilderness Life plugin, but I'm going to check it off. For the spawn rates, I'm going to recommend the default spawn rates, no plugin, so just leave it just like this and click OK. After that, there's going to be the optional variants. Now, these are kind of important. Now, in my game, I really didn't select anything. I selected Shivering Isles because I have Shivering Isles. If you'd like, you can select hunting and crafting or farm animals or things like that, but I'm just going to select this one. Maybe I'll select farm animals too. You can read a description on it here. Next up are the tweaks. Here is a bunch of different little tweaks you can do. You can get rid of the Undead Rise, which some people find annoying. You can get rid of the resized races. You can make the roads a little bit safer, makes it easier to travel. You can make the quest locations safer. Again, you can read the description for all of these. I personally don't really care about any of these. The looting NPCs and creatures is pretty cool, so maybe that's worth installing. This basically makes it so the NPCs can take each other's gear, loot, and adds a little bit more life to the world, so you can go ahead and do this. Next up is the bone loot option. This is for only if you're using the hunting and crafting module, which I am not. So I am basically going to select no bone loot, and I'd recommend you do the same. Now, if you don't want your game to crash, hit the no reavers option. For whatever reason, this reavers spawns causes my game to instantly crash upon cell load. So make sure you have that on no. Then you can select the removal of creature types. So if you do not like certain types of monsters, for example, the Balrogs, the carrion rats, this is one that stealth characters might want to remove. I think these are the rats that spawn on corpses after a certain number of hours, which make it, you know, sneaking around and assassinating people a little bit difficult. You can remove those. I personally just like to leave them, you know. It's always good to have a bunch of cool different things there. So hit OK. Finally, it's going to ask you what you would like the installation of the BSA. Now, you want this to be as Mart's Monster Mod BSA. Do not select the dummy ESP, because if you do, the mobs are all going to show up as invisible. So just click as Mart's Monster Mod.bsa. Click OK. It's going to say it's ready for installation. Would you like to proceed? Hit yes. Now it's going to process all that, which again will take a long time, so I'm going to cut until that's done. Once that's finally done installing, you're going to want to run boss. Don't run loot, run boss, because it seems to work better with Oblivion, so I'm just going to quickly do that. It just takes a little bit of time. It'll reorder all of my plugins and stuff like that. Now for the most part, it recognizes the Mart's plugins, so it should put them in the right place. And there we have it, the mod is installed. So let's launch the game and make sure that it doesn't crash, and then we're done. Well, everything worked on my end and the game has been running smoothly. The only time I got a crash is when I loaded an old save that already had Mart's installed. Other than that, the game has run perfectly fine. I have had 5 hours of playtesting at this point, which is kind of during the editing, I guess. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment down below with suggestions for other games, mods, things like that that you would like to see. You know, check out the Xuul shortcut if you're wanting a quick installation guide, although I don't know why you would watch this whole thing and then do the Xuul thing, but you never know. Also, please consider subscribing so that you can be alerted to all of my wonderful new videos. I am planning on doing a Skyrim E&B series again soon, a nice set of comparisons. I'm going to be getting back into the more Oblivion modding kind of things, and of course, I have some really cool projects for KOTOR that are going to be coming up soon. Some stuff that nobody on the internet has showed off yet, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, thanks again for watching. I have been Xuul, and I hope you have an excellent day.